Now that we have our new composition created, it's time to actually get into the gesture-based drawing that makes Adobe ComCC so powerful. Let's take a look at how it works. First thing we have to do is tap over here on the left to activate the pen. That just means you're in drawing mode. It's not actually a pen. You can just use your finger. In fact, a stylus is actually, I think, harder to draw with than your finger. So in this case, it's pretty easy just to start drawing some stuff. The basic gestures that you need to know, for instance, if you want to draw a rectangle, just start drawing a rectangle with your finger. Adobe ComCC will automatically register that, and there you go. There's your rectangle. Let's say you wanted to draw a circle. Just draw. Adobe ComCC recognizes that and draws a circle. If you want to draw an image frame, something that you're going to place a photo into later, you draw a rectangle with an X across it. And that will allow you to create an image frame. If you want to insert text, just draw a few lines like this, and it automatically adds in some lorem ipsum text. Now, as of right now, these are all scattered about all over the place. If I want to move them around, I simply tap the purple X on the left-hand side. That's going to take me into object mode, where I can then start to move these objects around. And you'll notice as I'm moving them, I actually get smart guides that indicate where they're lined up and how they are lined up in relationship to one another. So I could actually keep this like this. Let's say I don't want the circle anymore. I can take this, remove it, move this guy up to the top here, and then let's stretch that out. And then we'll move this underneath, make sure it's centered, and draw it out like that. Now you'll also notice when I have text objects selected, there's a small little slider over on the right-hand side. And when I slide up, it increases the size of the text. When I slide down, it decreases the size of the text. And you can actually see the point size of the text as you're creating it. So in this case, I'm at 18 points. Maybe that's what I want. So there we go. Now, with these things selected, you will also notice that several different options appear down at the bottom of the screen. So for instance, here I can tap on this little settings button, and it allows me to do things like copy or change the opacity. Tapping away from that will disable it. You can also see here I have text options, and I can go in there and I can choose the font, the style, the size, I can choose the alignment, and I can add things like all caps, underline, strike through, etc. What's really interesting about this is I can tap right here on font, and it's going to take me in to Typekit fonts. That's right, you actually have access to Typekit fonts directly inside of Adobe ComCC. And the best part is, these are all of the fonts that are available via Typekit desktop fonts. So that means, as you sync them to your iPad and use them in your compositions, once you send them out to other applications like Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, which also have support for Typekit desktop fonts, those fonts will actually carry over to those applications as live type objects. So let's say that I want to change the font of this to Futura. I'll tap the little download icon next to Futura, and that's automatically going to download it, sync it to my device. I'll tap on Futura PT, and I get to choose the different styles. So I'll choose something like book, and then when I exit out of this, you'll notice that that has actually changed to Futura. Don't believe me? Let's change it again. Let's change Futura to something like League Gothic. That's actually big and bold, so that way you'll be able to see it. So there's League Gothic, and then when I tap away, there you go. There's the League Gothic. And let's increase the size so you can actually see it. There we go. Now, another thing you might want to be able to do is just insert blocks of lorem ipsum without having to do the gestures. That's totally easy to do too. All you have to do is tap on the text icon up here when you're in object mode, and you can select things like headline, subhead, or paragraph. So if I want a paragraph, I just tap that, and there you see it puts it out there for me. I can select that and then move it down, something like that. I can select this. Let's get rid of that for a second. And then I'll add in a headline. And we'll move this just like so. I'm just using the smart guides to line this up. I'll change this to League Gothic and make it League Gothic regular. There we go. I'll go into the type options, and let's do something like 16 point. You can see as I'm changing this on my iPad, it's actually changing it on the screen. And I'll change this to something like Clavo, and that's going to download that. Sync it over, and we'll do Clavo Light. And then I'll take this and just kind of put it down, something like that. And when I tap away, you can see now I have the basic wireframing of some sort of mobile application. And I have an image up there at the top. I have all of this information down at the bottom. And I did that all through gestures and by using the icons at the top. Now, if you're not sure about the gestures that you have the ability to create, it's very easy to go in and get a tutorial on that. So let's close this composition for a second, and let's create a brand new composition by tapping on the plus sign over here on the left. Then I'm going to enter drawing mode by tapping the pen. Then I'll tap on the question mark in the top right corner. So here you see we have the ability to create squares, circles, rounded rectangles, chamfered rectangles, images in a box, rounded images, circular images, triangles, corners, horizontal lines, vertical lines, polygons, headlines, and multi-line text, as well as erase. Well, what does erase do? Check this out. If I tap away from this, let's say I wanted an image that had a rounded corner, something like that, and then I look at it and I'm like, it's not really what I want. Just scribble through it, and it automatically takes it away. That's really super easy and really fun to do. Now let's try something else. Let's go in here to the tooltips, and let's see. Let's try a circular image. I'll tap outside of that, draw a big circle with an X through it, and that should register a circular image, just like so. Again, for headline text, you're going to use a rectangle with a dot. So let's say I wanted a big heading up here. All I do is draw a rectangle and a dot. It gives me a big headline. And then if I want some text, something like that, and it automatically generates paragraph text. As you can see, creating compositions inside of Adobe Comp CC is actually pretty straightforward. Now, if you wanted to add another layer on top of that, you can actually work with real images inside of Adobe Comp CC as well. So let's close this up for a second, and let's go back into the original comp I was working on. Because remember, I drew a big photo frame at the very top. When I'm in object mode, I can select that and I can actually place an image inside of it. Notice when I select it, I have down here at the bottom several different controls. I have the image controls, which allows me to import images from my iPad, take a photo, or import them from my files. I also have the styling controls. I have the ability to change the frame of this image, either rectangle, rounded corner, or circle. I can also change the stacking order of this, either make it go forward or backward, and I can also add a duplicate of it anytime I want. Then I can just tap the trash can to remove it. Let's say though that I wanted to put an image in here. What I'm going to do is tap on the image icon on the far left. I'm going to go into My Files, and that's going to take me to Creative Cloud, where I can actually see things that I have inside of my Creative Cloud files. So if I have any photos in here, I can take a look and see if I want to bring in any of those. If I don't like anything that I have in my assets, I can close that, and let's go to the marketplace. That's going to take me to the market, and I'm going to be allowed to browse the market just like I would on the desktop. So let's do a search up here, and let's do something like beach and hit search. If it doesn't return anything, that's okay. You can just simply use the categories over here. So let's do categories and say placement. Let's see what we've got here. Let's say we're doing an app for a product of some kind. Let's just find a decent product shot and let's add that in there. Let's say this mobile device right here. So I'll just download that and I'll put it into my library, continue, and that's going to sync it down into the library of your choice. And once that is done, what you're going to do then is you're going to close this up, go back in here, and you're going to go to My Libraries, and hopefully when we go into My Library, that's going to sync over. And if it doesn't sync over right away, it just might be because it's a big image. So it's okay. You can always just go back to the market, look for that item again. Let's try that one more time. So let's scroll through here and find that. And let's add this to the user interface library that I have. And once that's done, we'll hit that button again. There we go. Now it places it in there like it should. So as you can see, it's pretty easy once this all syncs up to get images in here. So you could actually have it on your camera roll. You can have it in your Creative Cloud account, anything from the marketplace. Really, the possibilities are endless as to what you can do with this stuff. And then once you're ready, once you have a finished composition, you then have the ability to continue working on this with the full power of apps like Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign.